Good morning, YouTube. MMA Joe, back again. We still need to talk about UFC 264. Lots more to cover. So, let's hop right into it. I think we'll start now with Carlos Condit and Max Griffin. We don't need to spend too much time here, but there are some things to say. Carlos Condit, man, I've been a huge fan. Wreckage, welterweight champion. And I thought for sure when he came to UFC that he would be the champion. I don't think I anticipated GSP being ultimately as good as he turned out to be when Carlos Condit came over. But you knew they were both, pretty good at the time. Obviously, Carlos was the champion, and he was a UFC interim welterweight champion. Man, I really like Carlos, the natural-born killer Condit. But I just don't see it anymore. I really like the dude. I can't say that enough. I don't want to see Carlos Condit fight anymore, man. I just don't. Um, eh, it's not fun. We know how durable and tough Carlos Condit is, and I don't think he needs to keep proving that to anybody. So I don't know what the issue is. I can certainly say that his progression in the sport, his technical, wow, oh my, a little aggressive. His technical progression in the sport. Now, to be fair to him, in his wreckage days, man, uh, his technical attributes, um, his training, listen, all good. But really, over the past 5, 6 years in the UFC, I don't think we've seen any improvement. His style has stayed the same holes in his game, the same weaknesses persist. So, again, and for the last time, like I know how tough Carlos Condit is, and I don't need him to prove that anymore. It's an unfortunate case, I believe, of the sport passing a once great fighter by. And maybe I'm putting him on too much of a pedestal. I'm sure other people will not agree with me, but we have short memories here in the States. And I'm not even sure that the casual UFC fan ever even watched Wreckage. So that's that, I guess. Let's talk about Max Griffin. You know, solid performance, man. Good on you. I don't want to take anything away from you. We know you're a tough character, and we know you're a young up and comer, man. But again, not seeing. It was the same Max Griffin I've seen now 2, 3 times. I'm not seeing much improvement, honestly. So I was I was very interested to see what happened with that fight. Now that it's happened, I'm actually pretty disappointed for Condit and Griffin. Just thought I would have liked to have seen more from both of them, but didn't. Being that Condit is now almost 20 years into a career, I think we can call it good. Max Griffin, you have a long time to improve. So, man, this kid's he's got a good foundation, so we'll see where that takes him. Where does that lead me next? Yes, probably to the only good call I made at UFC 264. Nico Price and Michel Pereira. I kept saying Michael. I'm sorry for getting that name wrong, and I really should have known that because I'm a big fan of dude, and I've watched every fight he's had in the UFC. So, like, I'm watching that and I'm like, oh yeah, I said Michael on the video. That's bad. But no disrespect intended. I can't find enough good things to say about either fighter. I don't really have a whole lot of negatives. Like, we got exactly, I think, what I expected out of Michel Pereira. I think it was the second round, he just hopped up and threw a knee, a jumping knee, to Nico Price's forehead, and I think it tapped him. I don't think it hurt or anything, but I think it made contact. It just tapped him, little kiss. But there again, that's like Nico Price is standing straight up. He's a big man, and this dude just about leaps out of the ring to try to get that knee off, and that guy's athleticism is through the roof. Nico Price doesn't stop moving forward damn near the entire fight. And Nico Price, to me, looked like he had better size in this fight than his last couple. He has an beginning of the 20th century kind of build. He's got these broad shoulders, and he looks like a tough guy out of the 1920s or something to me. I mean, this dude is just tough as nails, keeps coming forward. He gets kicked in the groin, and the referee's like, take your time, man. And this dude's like, nah, we're going to fight. Let's go. And I totally understand that. Like, Nico Price is not a guy that his gas tank isn't going away. And over the years of spectating, I find, a couple things. And in real life, when a man gets hit in his private parts, his genital area, we'll say, in the cock and balls, it hurts no matter who you are. Now, some fighters, some men, they drop like a sack of potatoes. They can't deal with this. Some men use it as fuel. It enrages them. The pain, like, gives them energy. It's why I've always said to females that I've cared about, don't think you can punch a man or knee a man in the balls and that's the end, and you can run away and that's the end of it. Some men don't work like that. Nico Price, tough as nails, he don't work like that, y'all. Can't punch him in the balls. He doesn't care. And listen, I had the fight scored the exact same way, 29-28. First two rounds went to Pereira. But man, Nico Price wasn't far behind, and had that been a 5-round fight, it's Nico Price fight all day long. Third, fourth, and fifth round belonged to him. It seems like Michel Pereira, MP, I'm just going to say from now on, it seems like MP still has to address the gas tank situation. I believe his gas tank was much better than we've seen. His gas tank the last two fights, to me, seems to be improving. Good stuff. I think for once, they don't do this often. It's kind of seldom that the judges get it right, but I think they did. 29-28. It's just a fun fight. So, yeah, those are those two fights. I think we can now move on to the main card, right? So, let's talk about Tai Tuivasa and Greg Hardy. Listen, I'm sure we all know about the shoeies, and him drinking beers out of shoes and stuff, so we don't need to go there. Let's talk about the actual combat. Man, Greg Hardy was on one coming into this fight. He was talking all kind of trash. And like, he put Derek Lewis's name in his mouth right before this fight. And I'm thinking, wow, dude, that's pretty incredible. As he did that, he did slip in some humility there, and he did say, listen, I'm just a young man in the sport, and I'm not that man right now. So actually, I want to give him a lot of credit, dude. The guy, Greg Hardy, is super confident, but I think he's realistic. I mean, he showed his confidence, and he showed his intelligence at the same time by saying, look, I'm not there yet, man. Greg, so as silly as I do think it is, he called out Greg Hardy, Greg Hardy called out Derek Lewis in a media scrum before 264. Good on him. He fully expected that his speed and power were going to win that fight for him, and he was very confident. I don't think he thought that fight was going out the first round. That's the way he was acting to me. And to his credit again, he rocked Ty. I'm not going to say he was seeing stars and he wasn't with it, because clearly he was, but his legs got like that wasn't an act. He rocked Ty. And then, as so many young fighters do, he rushed in for the kill. And man, we have seen this before, i.e. Scott Smith in Strikeforce. We've seen this a couple of times. Who else did it? Man? Fedor Emelianenko did it against Andrei Arlovski. We've seen this where guys fake like they're hurt real bad and then just clock somebody. So, man, tied to Avesa, so fun to watch that fight. Yeah, that was great. I mean, I really feel good about both guys, honestly. I think Greg Hardy's really applying himself to his trade now. We know he comes from the NFL. We know he's a lifelong football guy. That means he's trained in explosion and power his entire athletic career. And he was moving good on his feet for a big man. And so was tied to a vase. Man, that was just, hey, look, I said this previously to 264, but I want to make sure to say it again because I didn't say it in the Ryan Hall video or when I talked about Just Guy. But man, good on the matchmakers, dude. They got this one so right on UFC 264. And even though the Greg Hardy tied to Avesa a fight did not last very long, man, I felt like it was very worth it, totally worth it. So yeah, I just good. I thought this fight was important for both fighters, and I actually thought that whoever lost this contest was not going to be in a good way, was going to find himself in a bad circumstance. I don't think that's the case. I think both fighters raised their stocks. Like anybody can get caught, y'all, especially when we're talking about heavyweights. I think if Greg Hardy had to do it again, we can think of maybe even as recent as Karo Usman and Gilbert Burns, who we're going to talk about in the next video. But Gilbert Burns had that man rocked in that welterweight championship fight, and man, he was too impatient, and he came in for the kill too quickly. And Greg Hardy, I'm sure he knows that. Even right after that fight, I'm sure after a few minutes, he pretty much figured that out. But to me, both fighters, their stock rises. I mean, I think Greg Hardy shows real promise, man. So, yeah, I'm not mad at that fight at all. Really enjoyed it. The whole main card of UFC 264 was pretty darn good. I liked it. So I think we can stop there because we only have two more fights really to discuss, obviously, and yeah, we're going to do that. I'm looking really forward to it. So just to recap everything I said here, Carlos Condit, man, I love you, but I don't want to see you get hurt. Max Griffin, I expected to see a little more, but man, you got a solid foundation, and you have a long time to grow in this sport. So, good on you. Tied to Avesa and Greg Hardy, I think your stock rose, both of you, man, and I'm actually very happy for Tied to Avesa because I felt like he was kind of entering a little skid. A couple years ago, we were much higher on his stock. I think everybody was in the MMA community. So good to see him climbing back up. And I say that he's only got 3 losses. So, yeah, but we have big expectations for this guy. Anyway, man, another good take, I think. Yeah. Be looking out for this next video about the co-main and main event for 264. as always, thank you for listening. Be good. Be safe.